Why is the Philippines still poor? It's a painful question and one many Filipinos have asked for decades. This country is rich in natural resources. It has over 7,000 islands, a young and hard-working population, and strategic access to the sea. It's the third largest English-speaking nation in the world. Filipino workers are in demand globally. And yet, the Philippines ranks among the poorest in Southeast Asia. So what's really going on? Today, we're going beyond the headlines. The truth isn't simple, but it's important because if we don't understand the problem, we can't fix it. Let's start with some surprising facts that will change how you see the country's past and its future. Did you know that in the early 1960s, one Philippine peso was worth half a US dollar? Yes, you heard that right. In 1962, under President Diosdado Macapagal, the exchange rate was just 2 pesos to 1 US dollar. Today, it is more than 56 pesos per dollar. That decline tells a much bigger story. Back then, the Philippines had one of the most promising economies in Asia. It was even richer than South Korea and China when measured by GDP per capita. Manila was known as the Pearl of the Orient and looked poised to become a global city. So why did that future never arrive? At the same time, Singapore was a small, resource-poor island struggling for survival. Today, Singapore has the highest GDP per capita in all of Asia at around 91,000 US dollars. The Philippines, by comparison, has less than 5,000. What caused such a massive gap? The answer takes us back in history. Both the Philippines and Singapore were colonies. Singapore was ruled by the British. The Philippines was colonized first by Spain, then the United States, and briefly by Japan during the Second World War. Colonial rule left deep scars on both countries. But after gaining independence, both nations had a chance to rebuild and chart their own paths. Singapore became fully independent in 1965. The Philippines became independent earlier in 1946. So what went wrong? While Singapore launched bold reforms under a strict and visionary leader, Lee Kuan Yew, the Philippines fell into a trap that still haunts it today: corruption, weak institutions, and political dynasties. These problems prevented the country from realizing its true potential. They slowed growth, scared away investors, and limited opportunities for ordinary Filipinos. The story of why the Philippines remains poor today is deeply connected to these historical challenges and the choices made since independence. While Singapore established the Corrupt Practices Investigation Bureau to tackle corruption head-on and enforced accountability at every level of government, the Philippines followed a very different path. In Singapore, public officials were chosen based on merit. That means qualifications, track record, and integrity. They were not selected because they were popular, wealthy, or related to someone in power. A strict vetting system was put in place to ensure that only the most capable and honest individuals could hold public office. Education was prioritized. Institutions were strengthened. Long-term national planning was the standard, not the exception. Now contrast that with the Philippines. In the Philippines, anyone can run for public office regardless of education, professional background, or even a criminal history, and that is not an exaggeration. Under Philippine law, candidates are disqualified from running only if they have been convicted by final judgment of specific crimes such as subversion, rebellion, or offenses involving moral turpitude. The key phrase here is final judgment. That means even individuals who are currently under investigation or already facing serious criminal charges can still legally run for office and win. This is based on the principle of innocent until proven guilty, which is a fundamental standard in most democracies. So legally speaking, it is understandable. What makes the situation in the Philippines more concerning is that there is often very little political cost to being accused of corruption or other crimes. Public pressure is weak, party screening is often absent, and cases can drag on for years. During that time, many of these individuals remain in power, influence investigations, and even use public office to shield themselves from accountability. What is more, educational attainment is not a requirement. And while most democracies do not demand a college degree for public office, many countries have stronger informal standards or internal screening systems that help filter out unqualified candidates. In the Philippines, those filters are often missing completely. As a result, elections can turn into popularity contests. Celebrities, athletes, and even convicted criminals have successfully won public office, sometimes by a landslide, because they are famous, wealthy, or members of a well-known political clan. And that is where the deeper issue lies. Over 70% of elected positions in the Philippines are controlled by political dynasties. In some regions, the same family has held power for generations, father to son, brother to sister, husband to wife. In fact, one political clan in Ilocos has reportedly maintained control for more than 100 years. This concentration of power leads to a dangerous cycle. Government becomes less about public service and more about preserving private influence. Infrastructure, education, healthcare, and anti-poverty programs often take a back seat to maintaining family loyalty and political control. When the same families dominate for decades, accountability disappears. Corruption becomes normalized, and progress slows to a crawl. This is not just a political issue. It is an economic one. Investors pull back, opportunities dry up, and the nation's development suffers not because it lacks potential, but because the people in charge are often more focused on protecting their own interests than building a better future for the country. Let us be clear. The Philippines has had good leaders, honest, capable, and truly committed to public service. But too often those leaders are outnumbered, outspent, or overpowered by entrenched political clans and corrupt interest groups that control key institutions. Corruption in the Philippines is not just a political issue, it is a daily obstacle that affects every part of life. It seeps into infrastructure projects, healthcare systems, education, law enforcement, and even disaster response. It discourages investors, slows development, and creates an atmosphere of mistrust and instability. Every year, billions of pesos disappear due to misused funds, overpriced contracts, and shady deals. Government officials approve projects that benefit their allies, not the public. Basic services are delayed or poorly delivered. Roads are left unfinished, medicines go missing, relief goods are stolen, and the poorest Filipinos are the ones who suffer the most. When public money disappears, it does not build schools. It does not pay teachers. It does not fund roads, bridges, hospitals, or clean water systems. It does not support farmers or protect the environment. The money ends up in the pockets of a few, while the majority are left behind. This leads to a dangerous and repeating cycle. Poor governance results in poor services. Poor services result in weak education, and weak education leaves voters more vulnerable to false promises, misleading campaigns, and political manipulation during elections. People who lack access to quality education may struggle to critically assess candidates or policies. They are more likely to vote based on emotion, name recognition, or short-term favors, rather than vision, performance, or integrity. And so the cycle continues. Corrupt leaders get re-elected. Public resources are drained. Services remain broken, and poverty remains widespread. This cycle does not just affect the present, it shapes the future. Because when corruption becomes normal, and when good leaders are pushed aside, the country loses more than just money. It loses trust. It loses momentum. And it loses years, sometimes decades of progress. Let's talk about education. If there is one factor that influences every other part of a country's development, it is education. And sadly, in the Philippines, this is one of the weakest links in the system. According to global education assessments, Filipino students consistently score among the lowest in reading, mathematics, and science. Out of 81 countries evaluated in the Program for International Student Assessment, also known as PISA, the Philippines ranked 77th, performing well below the global average in all categories. And the problem does not start in high school. It begins much earlier. Nearly 1 in 5 Filipino children is out of school. That means millions of children are growing up without access to even the most basic education. Many of those who are enrolled attend overcrowded public schools where classrooms are poorly equipped, books are outdated or missing, and teachers are overworked and underpaid. In rural areas, some children have to walk for miles just to reach the nearest school. In many cases, families cannot afford school supplies, transportation, or even lunch. And in urban areas, poverty forces many children to drop out early to help their families survive. The result is a generation of students who struggle to read, write, and think critically. This has long-term consequences not just for individuals, but for the entire nation. When people cannot evaluate candidates or understand policies, democracy weakens. Voters are more easily swayed by emotional appeals, fake news, or shallow slogans. Elections become popularity contests, not serious decisions about the future. And without an educated public, corrupt leaders remain in power. Bad governance becomes normal, and national progress is held back. If we want better leaders, we need better education. It is not just about building more schools, it is about improving the quality of learning. That means investing in teacher training, updating the curriculum, and giving students the tools to succeed in a modern world. This is exactly what many successful countries have done. Singapore and South Korea made education their #1 priority. They treated teachers as professionals. They raised academic standards. And most importantly, they made sure every child had a real chance to learn, no matter their background. Those investments paid off. Today, those countries have strong economies, low corruption, and informed citizens who hold their leaders accountable. If the Philippines wants to break the cycle of poverty and poor leadership, it must begin with education, because education is not just about getting a job. It is about building a society that knows how to think, how to question, and how to choose wisely. The Philippines has everything it needs to succeed on paper. It is rich in natural resources. The country has vast deposits of gold, copper, nickel, and other valuable minerals that are in high demand across the globe. Its agricultural land is fertile. Its forests, mountains, and marine biodiversity are among the richest in the world. And its beautiful beaches, islands, and tropical climate attract millions of tourists every year. It also has something more powerful than minerals or beaches: a young and dynamic labor force. The median age of Filipinos is just 25. That means the country has a large working-age population full of potential. And on top of that, the Philippines has one of the largest overseas workforces in the world. Every year, overseas Filipino workers send back tens of billions of pesos in remittances, keeping families afloat and supporting the local economy. But here is the truth. Natural resources alone do not make a country rich. There are many countries that are blessed with minerals, oil, or land, but are still poor, because without good governance, even the best resources go to waste. Corruption and mismanagement turn opportunity into loss. Poor infrastructure, red tape, and unstable policies drive foreign investors away. Local businesses struggle to grow. Job creation slows, and instead of moving forward, the economy gets stuck. You cannot build a strong nation on raw materials alone. You need leadership that knows how to use those resources wisely, transparently, and sustainably. You need institutions that support innovation, protect property rights, and reward hard work, not just connections or political loyalty. You need policies that create value from what the country has, not just extract it and export it with little benefit to local communities. Because prosperity does not come from what a country has. It comes from what a country does with what it has. And right now, the Philippines is not doing enough. Too many opportunities are lost to inefficiency and self-interest. Too many projects are abandoned, underfunded, or corrupted before they can bring real change. The country has the ingredients for success, but without good governance, those ingredients will never reach their full potential. Let's summarize the hard truth. The Philippines is still poor not because it lacks potential, but because it lacks consistent, honest, and visionary leadership. It's held back by widespread corruption, political dynasties, a weak educational system, and a public that is often misled by fame instead of merit. But here's the hope. Change is possible. Countries like Singapore and South Korea prove that radical transformation can happen within a generation if the people demand it, and if leaders deliver. It starts with education, with awareness, with choosing leaders who serve, not steal. And ultimately, it starts with every Filipino asking a hard question. What kind of future do we want, and who do we trust to lead us there? The Philippines is not destined to stay poor, but destiny will not change without effort. The country has the tools. The people have the talent. The only missing ingredient is the will to choose leaders who can unlock that potential. So the next time someone asks, "Why is the Philippines still poor?" do not just blame the system. Challenge it. Because change begins with truth, and truth begins with people who care enough to ask the hard questions. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe for more videos like this one. And if you are curious about how much people in the Philippines earn, watch this video next. See you in the next one. Bye for now.